Hey, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. I am Mrs. Berry. I'm about to start doing something a little bit different on my channel. So I'm going to start talking more about personal finance, budgeting. I'm going to do a whole series on that. And so I'm going to kind of break it down into a couple of parts. So the first part will talk about how my living situation was growing up until high school, up until I actually moved to the current city that I reside. Part two, we'll talk about, how me and my boyfriend at the time and now husband, how we kind of worked through the past 17, 18-ish years that we've been together and kind of what we've been doing with our money. And then the third part will actually talk about kind of our plan for the future as far as what we have today and kind of what it will look like over the course of the next couple of years. So I'm very excited about this. I think a lot of people inbox me, asking me, about financial advice, kind of what my story is, things like that. So I think I'll answer a lot of questions with this series. And so if there's anything additional that you all want to know, I'm kind of an open book. Like, I'm not going to tell y'all all my business, but like, I do want to share with you all so that you all can learn from some of my mistakes and maybe you all could teach me a couple of things or two as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's talk. Y'all, I have my talking points because listen, I'm about to be 40. Like, my mind ain't what it used to be. So if you see me looking down, that's why. All right, so let's talk about kind of where it all began. I grew up in a very, very, very small town in Virginia. I will say, I think today the population is about maybe 1,100 people. So, back then it probably wasn't that many. But very small town. I would not call the town itself poor-ish. Because there were definitely people who had money in this town, but me and my family, we were not part of that group. I would say that I pretty much grew up, lower class. We got food stamps. We got different assistance from the government. I remember like my grandma and my uncle, like they used to get checks every month. I'm not sure exactly what they were. I don't know if they were Medicare, disability, whatever it was, but they used to get a check every month and kind of, that's kind of how we survived. So, I did grow up primarily in my grandma's house. So that's kind of, how we survived. Like I said, we had food stamps. And a lot of people don't know this part of my life, so I'm being very vulnerable right now, talking about it. But, we didn't have running water growing up. We didn't have a bathroom, your traditional like house setting. We had a very small 2-bedroom home. And it was about 7 of us there. Usually on any given occasion, it could be 8 or 9 people in the house because my grandma was very generous. She knew a lot of people. And so sometimes somebody needed to sleep on the couch and we, not even having enough to really feed us, she would still say, look, come on, we got you. Like, that's just kind of the type of person that she was. And so, again, it was a very small house. It was a lot of us in the house, no running water whatsoever. We did not have a bathroom. We didn't have a shower. We didn't have any of that. I won't get into the gruesome details on kind of, how that situation worked out. But if you can imagine, not having running water, we did have a spring and a well. And so I remember as a child, we would go to the spring or the well and we would fill up jugs of water. Like, we would fill up empty jugs of water, and we kind of had jugs of water all over the house. And so when you need to wash your hands, you pour some water into a little pail and you wash your hands. When you need to wash your hair, it was the same thing. Somebody boiled some water on the stove and you stood over the pail and they put, the water in your hair. So, we made do with what we had. I would definitely say I can never remember missing a meal. I can never remember when the lights got turned off. I do remember we went a long period of time without actually having a house phone, which was very hard. But again, somehow we made it through. Holidays, Christmas, birthdays, stuff like that looked a little different in our house just because we just did not have it. But again, we had the bare necessities. We had, shoes on our feet, clothes on our back, and we definitely had food in our stomach. So while I do believe we, grew up very lower lower class, we still had the bare necessities. So thank God for that. So of course, I went through school, went through high school. When I was 17, I did graduate from high school. I did go to college. And we will definitely get into that process a little bit later. I did go to college. I do remember, when we graduated, and I keep saying we because I'm a twin. I do have a twin brother. So it was always us two. But when I went to college, my brother went to the Navy. When I went to college, I did have a little bit of money from graduation gifts that people had given me. So I used that money to buy things like my bed set. I used that to buy, some of my books, things like that. But I do remember, when I went to school, my mom, she dropped me off and she gave me $35, and not to say that's what she had. So that's what she gave me. And so that's kind of where I went. So while I was in school, though, I had to support myself. I knew that I could not call my mom and say, hey, I need X, Y, and Z because I need a book, or I need this, or I need that. It just did not work like that. So from very early on, I started doing hair. Listen, I show up on this YouTube channel and I know my hair gonna be looking crazy, and it have looked crazy. But believe it or not, baby, I was working these hands at that schoolhouse. You hear me? I was braiding. I was doing swoops. I was doing updos. I was doing all that to support myself. And I made really good money doing that. I didn't knock people over the head, charging my arm and a leg. I was doing hair for $5. And that was, again, to support myself. And I really, that's what really kind of helped me with my expenses while I was in school. I also worked two student jobs. I forget what they call them, but I also worked two student jobs. So I was able to use that money again to buy books. I shared books with people very early on. I remember my first semester being in the bookstore, and there were people just like me who was just like, this book $400. Like, how in the world are we gonna buy it? And so it would be like four of us that would go in on this book. And, they had the class on Tuesday. I had it on Thursday. Look, we're going to walk by each other on Monday at 11 o'clock when we go in our other class. We're going to switch books. I mean, it was a whole situation. I'm trying to tell you. But, glory to God, I did it. Okay? I graduated from college in 2006. But a couple of things before that. So, the summer before my junior year, y'all, I was working at a factory. And listen, let me tell you something. Very early on, I knew factory work was not for me. Listen, I know people make good money working in factories, doing manual work. My mama did it for 40 years, probably 40 plus years of her life. And I have the most respect for y'all because at that time in my life, working at that one factory job, oh, baby, I knew it wasn't going to be for me. I said, oh, no, we're going to have to find something else for Jessica to do. So I was working at this job. I want to say I was making like $4.25 an hour. I mean, it was very low. I want to say this was 2004, maybe $4.25, $4.50, something like that. I really can't remember. But during that summer, I was working full time, and so I was able to buy myself a car. Ooh, child, listen. Buy myself a car. Now, before y'all be like, oh, I thought you said you ain't had no money growing up. Listen, I paid $125 cash money for this car. It was a brown. It was Dookie Brown. Okay, Dookie Brown. It was a 1982 Datsun Maxima. I had bought this car cash money, y'all. It was rickety. It was raggedy. The tires was slick as ice, y'all. Listen, the radio, I had to put a piece of wood in it to hold it. Listen, I was struggling, but I was riding, okay? I was riding, and I gave people rides. People would get in my car and be like, darn, what's wrong with your radio? Don't come in here, because you was walking. You was walking. Okay, and you can keep walking. If you need a ride, get in here and be quiet. Okay, the door closed, the lock, the seatbelt work. Be quiet. So, during that summer as well, I also I had a credit card. I had gotten a credit card in college. I had failed for what a lot of I had fell for what a lot of college students do, which is those credit card offers. Listen, if I can say anything right now, I'm going to just go ahead and insert this in. Do not get a credit card when you're in school. It seems glamorous, whatever the case. But if I look back, that was one of the worst decisions I could have made. And it definitely cost me in the future. You don't have no income, nothing. And they just want to be throwing you money. That don't sound right at this point in my life. It don't sound right. So anyway, I had gotten a credit card. I feel like the limit was like $300 or $400. It was very small. But of course, I went ahead and maxed that joint out like the first month I had it. And then the summer that I actually bought this car, I actually ended up having to do a settlement on that credit card because, of course, I was not paying the bill because I didn't have the money to pay the bill. So I had to end up doing a settlement on that credit card. And I want to say I settled for like $200 and some. And so if you can imagine making $4 and something an hour, if you can imagine trying to pay off $200 and some, it's very hard. Very, very hard. So I ended up having to go get another job that summer, and I actually worked at Dairy Queen. So I worked at Dairy Queen. I was working my full-time job. I was working a part-time job. So I was very busy that summer. I was going out, I was having fun. I wouldn't say I was missing out on anything, but it was hard. I was pinching pennies, literally living paycheck to paycheck. But I didn't have any like real bills, right? I had my phone, my car was paid off. But I had this settlement to take care of as well. So I wasn't doing any saving. I did know I had to go back to school, that next fall, but I really wasn't worried about that. When you come from where I come from, you really not thinking long term. You thinking, what can I get done today? And maybe what do I need to do tomorrow? It ain't what I'm going to do 2-3 weeks from now because you're trying to just live in the day. So went back to school, still doing hair, working my 2 student jobs, whatever. So that's kind of how I worked my way through my junior year. And then the summer before my senior year, or it may have been, it was the summer before my senior year, my mama ended up getting a new car. And so she, something had happened to the old one, so she ended up giving me her old car, and she got a new car. It wasn't new, but it was new to her. So it was a new car. And so I think the car itself was like a 1998 Pontiac something. I can't even remember what it was. But it had broke down or whatever, so it needed about $600 worth of work done to it. So what did I do? I came home that summer, and I went to another factory because the factory was full-time. I wasn't doing anything else, and it was steady money. So I went to the factory. I want to say I was maybe making $7 an hour, I don't know. It was $6.25. I think I was making $6.25. So I worked that summer to get the car fixed or whatever. And then, that same summer, y'all, I ended up getting into an accident with the car. I ended up getting into an accident with the car. So of course I was out of commission for a couple of weeks. I had to get that fixed, and I did. I got it fixed. And I was able to actually drive it back to school my senior year. So I actually had a car my senior year, which, again, seemed very glamorous, but from where I come from, it was very glamorous. Like, oh, I got a car senior year. But again, I still had to put gas in it. It was insurance that needed to be paid on it, which I think at that time I may have been paying my own insurance because I was old enough to at the time. I still had to put gas in it. I still had to pay car insurance. I had a phone bill, so it was things that, I had to take care of. So what did I do when I went back to school? I got another job. I went to work at KFC my senior year. So again, it was part-time, but I also had 2 student jobs as well. So again, at this point, I'm working 3 part-time jobs, and I'm still working these fingers. I'm still doing hair. So again, that's really how I was able to keep gas in my car, keep my phone on, keep a little money in my pocket. But listen, I say all that to say I hustled. It wasn't nothing easy about it. And, it was a time that I was very envious of people who went to school and, got this money handed to them, and they didn't have to lift a finger and this and this. But again, it wasn't their fault, right? And it wasn't my fault either. This is how it was supposed to happen for me. That's what I will say. Even looking at everybody else and kind of what they had and what they did and what their parents did, my story was supposed to happen like that. That's all I can say. My story was supposed to happen like that. So When I graduated college in 2006, praise the sweet baby Jesus. I graduated from college and I went right back to my small hometown. I did know that I did not want to stay there. Again, I love my small hometown. I love the people there. My family was there. But I also knew, again, the biggest thing there was factory jobs. And baby, Jessica wasn't going, I wasn't finna do it. I just won't finna do it, okay? So I knew I was not going to stay there long. I want to say I had given myself 6 months. So I graduated in like June or something like that, May, June. And I was going to give myself 6 months to work and, kind of get my money built up. And then I was going to move somewhere else. I didn't even know where, but I knew I wanted to move somewhere else. And so I started working in a call center that summer after I graduated. I was probably making $750 maybe ish. That's probably on the generous side. I still had my 98. I still had my car, and baby, that thing was leaking oil. That thing was leaking oil. You hear me? I was putting oil in it every day, but I didn't really have the money to like fix it up. And, I didn't even know if it was worth fixing up. So I did what I had to do. Every day I would stop at the store and get a $2 thing of oil and put it in there, and baby, we was riding. So that's just kind of how I maintained it. So I worked the whole summer at this call center after I graduated. And then in September of 2006, I actually moved in with my boyfriend at the time, husband now. So that's kind of like where it all started, right? Again, there are probably little things that I forgot to kind of write down or whatever, and I can slide those in as I remember those. But, long story short, I had a semi-rough upbringing. It was not easy by any means. So again, I remember days when, the power would go out, and we were fortunate enough to still be able to eat, right? My grandma would put a pot of beans on the wood stove, and we was frying bologna on the wood stove. Like, we were fortunate enough to do that. But again, it was very hard at times. Like, I don't remember ever going on a vacation growing up. I remember one time we went to Atlanta on a church trip. And then I can remember, so I won't say ever, because I do remember one time we went to Carowinds, which was in North Carolina, I believe. And I remember that because like my grandma went and all that. So, those are the only 2 times in my life where I can remember like we went like out of town on vacation. I was in my 20s before I saw the beach. Had never even been to the beach. We just didn't have money to do things like that. And even when I went to college, again, I didn't have money to do things like that. I had the money to cover the bare necessities. And most of the time I didn't really have that. My phone never got cut off because, listen, Jessica's a talker, as you all can see. And I'm still a talker on the phone. So my phone wasn't finna get cut off, okay? My phone won't finna get cut off. Now, if I had to go without get my nails done or something, like that's something different. But my phone wasn't finna get cut off. But again, it was still very rough. But again, even with all that, I still believe that that's how my story was supposed to start. That's how my journey was supposed to be. I was exactly where I was supposed to be at those times in my life. So that's kind of like part 1, right? My second part, I will start going into kind of what happened after I moved in with my boyfriend, at the time, and kind of what we did to kind of manage our money, because it didn't get glamorous. It definitely didn't get glamorous. I would say it got harder. But somehow we made it through. And I'm trying to tell y'all, I know it's October, but now it's the time to start planning for 2024, which is exactly what I'm about to do. I actually have a 5-year plan that I'm going to share with you all. I do realize that, student loans are back for the first time in 3 years, really a little bit longer for me because I was in school during the pandemic. So it's probably been more like 5 years for me since I've actually had to pay back all of my student loans. And so I want to get those done. There are a couple of other things that I want to get done as well. And so that is going to take some discipline on my side. And I want y'all to keep me in line because I'm going to try to share everything with y'all as within reason. Like I said, I'm not gonna tell y'all all my business, but I'm gonna try to keep y'all in the loop as far as what's going on and kind of where my spending is. Okay. So if you all like this video, if you can't wait to see part 2 and part 3, and then kind of what, the progress as I go along, please make sure that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you like and comment on this video, and share it. Share it with people who need to hear this. It has not been an easy journey for me to be where I'm at, and I feel like I'm very fortunate and blessed to be where I'm at today. But listen, people see you today and they don't realize what your yesterday looked like, right? I mean, again, they see you today. They don't know what yesterday looked like. They don't know what 5 years looked like. They don't know what you had to do 10 years ago to be in the position that you are today. And I think that is just as important as, what's happening here and today in our lives. So I'm gonna stop talking. I'm telling y'all, I could talk all day, but I'm gonna stop talking. And again, my plan is to get part 2 of the video out within the next couple of days. I do want to go ahead and get everything like the story told and the budget and all that. I want to get all that wrapped up possibly before the end of October, maybe into the beginning of November, so that when I get that first paycheck in January, we hit the ground running, baby. We ain't saying, oh, I can't do it, it's too hard. Oh, I changed my mind, this, and this. Baby, get with it. So you better get ready. If you ready to, get on a plan with me, if you ready to get your budget in order, if you ready to get your finances under control, listen, do it with me. I don't want to do it by myself. I'm coming to y'all because I want y'all to do it with me. I want y'all to learn from some of the mistakes I made. I want y'all to tell me some of the mistakes y'all made so that I can avoid that. Help me, help you, help me, help you, help me, help you, help me. Right. Yeah, I said that right. Anyway. All right, y'all have a blessed rest of your day, and I will see you all in part 2 of I don't even know what I'm calling it. I don't know. Finance, money management, budgeting series as we kick off to 2024. Have a good one.